oh, the whole website needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But we made some really strategic moves in that process. And I have the best team that I have had in implementing. They're all talking, they're all strategic, they're all tech, they're doing the things that they need to be doing to make sure that all of our systems are running and everything's getting rebranded and all the fun, all the stuff.
So you're not doing everything yourself. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Everybody give it up for Rhonda Noordyk, everybody. Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You doing good?
I'm good.
What's on your mind today?
I'm glad to be here. Yeah, it's just been kind of a crazy week, but a really good week. And so, yeah, it's Friday afternoon, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So what's the week been like for you? What's a week in the life of Rhonda?
So this week was awesome. I had a couple really interesting meetings, and yet really gave me the opportunity to really showcase what value I bring to my clients. And so I shared this story on social media, but on Monday, I was part of a settlement conference. So I work with women that are going through divorce, and I'm in the meeting. And the attorney basically said, oh, hey, we don't want Rhonda to talk. So she can be in the meeting via Zoom, but we're going to mute her. And I didn't even send anything. I didn't even send anything at that point, right? And at the end of the day, the client said, no, you need to unmute her. I've hired her to help me, and I appreciate what she's going to contribute. And so this divorce case had been pending for about 2 years, pretty highly litigated. And in 2.5 hours, we got it done. We got the husband to agree to 33% greater support payment than what he was offering. And it was fun. I mean, I think about some of the stuff that we're working on with the rebranding, and I know Pat Miller was here or is in the house, and
he's in the house.
He's hiding down.
He just reclined all the way back.
He is chilling. But to Pat and I had coffee probably 2 or 3 months ago, sitting outside at a coffee shop, and he's like, hey, Rhonda, I think you need to go all in on divorce advocacy. And I was like, oh, I know what that means. It means rebranding. That means and I'm like, you're not wrong. And so I'm driving home, and I'm like, okay, I got to just get my head around this. And he was right. And so we have really gone all in on advocating for women. We're rebranding. We're going to New York next week to really it's going to be, it's serving as an opportunity to kick off the brand.
Yeah.
We're going bold on our colors. And it's been interesting going through that process of a rebrand, because this year is my 10th year in business. And at the end of the day, I just was ready. I didn't realize how much I needed to really become even more authentic, more confident, more assertive, more whatever, to really be able to impact my clients. And it's been fun.
Yeah. Are you liking the ride so far? Good. What was, if you had to describe it into one sentence, why was it time for a rebrand? What was it? What was the trigger point that was okay, this is it?
The market was getting saturated, and I felt like I was starting to sound like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I have to keep it to one sentence, that's
That was just a challenge, a fun challenge as we're doing this.
He's like, I know how much you can talk. I'm going to do this tell you. Just keep it to one sentence. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the market, I feel like depending on the space that you're in, it could be very saturated, no matter, what industry you're in. But we all have that unique story to share. And the more that we dive deeper into our own uniqueness, the market kind of becomes I don't care what it is.
Yeah. And I think I had to get extra clear on that, because again, when I started my business 10 years ago, nobody was I was the only person. And you're like, oh, that's a pretty bold statement. Yeah, because I'd done the research. Like, nobody was doing the work that I was doing with women in the divorce space the way that I was doing it. Nobody had a center, nobody had a physical location. The only place I could find that was even somewhat similar was in Australia. So, I mean, so I was used to being the only person, which was a unique situation because most of the time when people are getting into doing something and they're like, oh, yeah, there's already, X amount of people doing what I'm doing. But it was a unique thing. And I'm pretty competitive and I didn't want, I wanted to be the person.
You're very. The more I get to know you, I'm like, you're very competitive.
I am very competitive. But primarily, and not, I mean, I could say it's just with myself, but that would be lying because, I'm just competitive across the board. And I didn't want to be, I didn't want to be diluted with everybody else. Like I'm reading their stuff, seeing stuff online. I'm like, oh, no. Like, so when we first started the business, it was more of like a supportive, like kind of feel. Then, of course, Pat says, hey, I think we need to go all in on the branding of, the test piece and the strategy. And I was like, oh, yeah, that speaks to me.
Yeah.
Yes. And now we're going all in on the advocacy piece. And so over that 10 years, really, this is the third rebrand that we've done. I think the other thing for me that I was noticing was energetically, I was just feeling like frustrated, burnt out. Like I needed to find a way to infuse some energy into the work that I was doing. And the rebrand, nobody wants to go through a rebrand because you're like, oh my gosh, all the stuff.
Exhausting.
We'll go to payroll that now I'm like, oh, that's, what do you do with it? You can't even send it to Goodwill. Like who's going to
Goodwill, throw it out. Get clothes, I don't know, pajamas.
I deserve a big hole. So yeah, it was just kind of an interesting, situation with that. But I think I'm really excited. I wouldn't say that I've never been this excited, but I'm more clear and more excited, I think, about where we're headed than I have been maybe ever in my business.
Yeah. Do you think it was necessary? Like, could you have avoided the rebrand?
So it's interesting because I went into the rebrand thinking, okay, we're going to play it safe. We'll make the colors that we have a little more bold and we'll, we'll maybe do the tagline of like, the advocacy piece and, just kind of. And the more that we got into it, so part of that process was going back and interviewing current and past clients and seeing, okay, what was it about the work that you did with Rhonda? What was it about your experience? And what we started to hear, we meaning the branding team that I hired to do it, was they've really felt like, hey, she gave me a voice. She helped me show up and know what to be asking. And so it wasn't like, hey, we're looking at the financial stuff, although that's important. Really, the takeaway was I feel more confident and I feel like I can speak up. And so that became part of the rebranding with this whole concept of like giving them a voice. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced that. I think anytime you're in a space where you are a leader, I always feel like I take a lot of the headwinds for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I've experienced to some degree what they're experiencing with their attorneys. Like when the attorney was like, oh, we're going to mute her. No, you're not going to mute, or, oh, we're not going to give her authorization to be in the meeting. We're going to, so they start to do that stuff to me that because I'm the person who's kind of protecting the client or the representation, of that voice.
Yeah. You can't be silenced.
No. No.
Never can be silent.
No. So it was an interesting exercise. And we came out of it saying, I just don't think that, changing the color and changing the logo and whatever is going to do it. Like it ended up going from a refresh to an entire rebrand.
Yeah.
And then you're like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You're like, oh, the dollars. Oh, the whole website needs to be done. Yeah. Okay, great. But we made some really strategic moves in that process. Yeah. And I have the best team that I have had.
Yeah.
In implementing. They're all talking, they're all strategic, they're all tech, they're they're doing the things that they need to be doing to make sure that all of our systems are running and everything's getting rebranded and all the fun, all the stuff.
So you're not doing everything yourself. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Because as a business owner, it's really hard to delegate.
It is hard to delegate. And I think, it's hard early on for two reasons. One, you often don't have the capital.
Yeah.
to be able to hire somebody. So you're like, oh yeah, great. I can get it for what? Sure. Sounds good. But as time goes on, you have you hopefully have the revenue if you're doing things correctly to be able to reinvest in your business and get the right people. And for me, I always want to look at, okay, how much more is it, right, to have that right person?
Right.
And you're usually paying a little bit more for that. But we also have to look at the whole picture and say, I'm also saving time, money, and energy on the back end because I'm not having to deal with headaches and things are working properly.
Exactly.
So that's been.
So how many team members have you gone through in 10 years?
I would say probably 6. So not too bad. All were independent contractors except
a lot lower than
one.
What I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, a 6 to 10 maybe. I mean, I don't know.
10.
Yeah, well, 6. We'll say 6. We'll say 6. I mean, at the end of the day, most of them were independent contractors, which was great. I've done the employee thing. That was a total headache. Actually resulted in a lawsuit. So that sucked the energy. I was in probably one of the darkest places I had been in my business because I think for me, one of the things that I really value is integrity. And when somebody signs an agreement or does something and they don't follow through, that shakes me, right?
Yeah.
And you can't control what people are doing. But then you're like, okay, how is this, right? That's the justice part that I get to fight for my clients.
Right.
But, you go through these iterations. I mean, now you looking back over the last 10 years, I always say 95% of my day and time and week and month and year is great. And then you have that 5% of headache, right?
Yeah.
And I've certainly had the challenges over the years. I mean, there have been plenty of times when I'm like, we're bagging this thing. 2 years ago, I was like, I'm burnt out. Either I figure out a way to scale or I'm done and I'll go do something else. And at that time, I had the opportunity to kind of look at, okay, how could I scale this? And what I ended up doing was taking my one-on-one services and creating a program, taking the skills that I learned in, creating curriculum in higher education and teaching, and then my business skills and create a curriculum that walked people through my signature bridge method over a 6-month period. And it's been really amazing because that allowed me the first year so we launched it in January of 2022.
Okay.
No, 2023. January of 2023, the first year we had over 100 women that went through that program, and they were getting very similar results as
the one-on-ones?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
on some level. Like when you got super complicated ones, yes, they need that one-on-one.
Yeah.
But my system was working. I mean, we were working a client in Iowa. She went through my 6-month program, which was a hybrid of some content, some live calls, some coaching that happens on there. And she got a $300,000 better outcome because of my program. It was 100 times ROI. And you're like, okay, that sounds crazy. Checking them, like, did I really do the math? Like, it's not that hard, but like, that seems crazy. And it was. And it was win after win.
Speaking of wins, let's clap it up for that. Let's clap it up. That's a win. That's a win.
It is a win.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And now you're able to really take your business in a way where you don't have to go one-to-one on everything. And you can go one-to-many and you can help a lot more amazing women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that's one of the things that, we're dialing in on is, okay, talk to me about the impact, right? And I think the way that you have structured questions for me has challenged me and really brought out the impact in ways that I don't know that I have experienced before. I mean, we looked at, okay, when you do mediation, what's the time and the money and the energy that is saved? And we talk about that, but it's hit me differently.
Yeah.
And when we look at the numbers, they're big numbers. Yeah. Like, big.
Very big numbers that we found out.
Like, shoot, this is... Yeah, the opportunity to have that level of impact is something that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to be stepping, into that.
Yeah.
And really seeing it in a fresh way, I guess.
Yeah. How do you feel? Because I know one piece of resistance at first was switching it to be your name for the company, where you're the face, you're the brand. How do you feel about that now? And what was the hardest thing to get you to switch that mindset? Maybe you're not even 100% sold. Who knows?
I think I am sold. I think I am sold on it. It was hard because, I think there's this aspect of like, I don't want to be too much in front. Like I want to lead. I want to be visible. But oh, I don't know if I want to go that far. And I think it's fear, right? At the end of the day, if we're honest about it. But I've spent a lot of time over the last 10 years building my name, like, whether it's my podcast, whether it's podcast interviews and articles, and nobody really was, Googling my company name. They were Googling me. And as much as I wanted there to be a team and I wanted there to be, at the end of the day, it's me.
Yeah.
Like, I think we talked a little bit about this. Like, there's certain things you can duplicate. I can teach or delegate the technical aspects, some of the number crunching, but I can't duplicate the tenacity and the energy and the commitment and the relentless like pursuit for justice for my clients. I just can't.
Yeah.
And maybe come close, but I've just decided, hey, we're going to go out. And now that I have the ability to scale the business because we're doing a program that I can facilitate, I feel much better about that. So we kind of, I guess, came full circle. The first URL I bought was, of course, my name. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe go to Women's Financial Wellness Center, which was, my previous name, because there was a center.
Yeah.
There was a physical location.
Yeah, an actual
we did live
location.
events.
Yeah,
and like, it was awesome. And I still have an office, but I don't have that center anymore.
Right.
And so, really being able to dial in and be flexible. And I think it's also playing into, I love speaking. I mean, I've been speaking on some form or fashion, right? Since I was 11. I had amazing mentors and people that poured into me and taught me how to write, speeches and move people and get them to cry and laugh and all the things in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment at 11 years old with a, audience of adults that I could move them. And I wanted to move them for something good. I wanted them to get behind a message that would make the world better. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is powerful. Like, how do I tap into that? And then I continued, high school, college, and beyond speaking. When I started in the financial industry, even got into this work initially, I was like, I'm only doing it if I can do presentations. And they're like, you want to do public speaking? Yeah, have at it. Here's your first presentation. And if you can learn that by Tuesday, you're on, Okay, great. So, I mean, it's been pretty cool. And I think I had a friend who said to me recently, like, Rhonda, people want to know what you think. And that was hard for me to hear because I think at the end of the day, after doing a lot of soul searching and some of the work that I was doing with my book, you realize for a long time, particularly growing up, like nobody really wanted to know what I thought. I mean, I might tell them anyways, but like they weren't asking, like,
whether they
what do you think? What do you think? Like they weren't asking me,
Yeah.
And so you get kind of conditioned, like, well, do they really want to know what I think? Like that's vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking is it's amazing though. Like just the impact that you can have in people's lives. A lot of times too, I'm learning that it's just usually a couple of sentences that just really hits them at the right time, the right moment. You could just say something in a certain way that it just hits them totally different. And that's what activates change in them. And speaking's tough though. It's tough to do. And I know you've spoken for hundreds of people before. And so how do you approach maybe speaking for a smaller group versus speaking for a larger group?
It's a good question. I mean, I think at the end of the day, one thing that I will say is I prepare the same regardless. So the preparation is the same.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, the energy that you bring is a little different.
Yeah.
I remember this was probably, I don't even know, 6 or 7 years ago, and I was speaking for a larger group, and the person that was speaking before me was just flat, like flat energy. And my friends that were sitting at this table at the conference were like, listen, girl, you got to bring the energy up in here or people are going to be leaving. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, you just got to bring even more energy.
Yeah.
Um,
Bring more than what you think.
I mean, more than what you think.
Because it's just different when people are like watching you.
Yeah.
Versus whatever you think is going on in your own head.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I called it audible with myself because at the end of this presentation, I was like, okay, I want everybody to stand up.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to repeat after me. It was over this whole legacy thing. I don't even know what I said. I totally made it up on the fly. But everybody was standing and the energy in that room had gone from like blah, blah to, oh my gosh, let's go. We want to leave a legacy, moving forward. And it was pretty cool. Yeah. But again, I mean, part of that comes with, the experience of feeling comfortable in doing some of those things that aren't scripted.
Yeah. And the only way that that's going to happen is like just getting the reps.
Yeah.
Just going in front of the stage. I remember the first time, so I was a hip hop artist for anybody that doesn't know that. I was a hip hop artist for a long time. And my first, or like it was maybe my third performance, I was performing at this church. And I went in front of like a good group of people and I was with my guy Plex and the sound cut out. So like we were like right in it, sound cut out, everything shut off. And I think I was maybe, how old was I? I had been like 17, 18 years old. And I just darted out the church. Like I went as fast as possible for the exit door.
Oh
like no lie, just hit the exit door, gone outside, like full on. And then my guy, I look behind me, I'm like, he's running with me. He was like, he didn't want to have the embarrassment by himself. So what's worse, like your guy just darts out the door, or you just sit there and you're like, what do I do now? So he was like, I gotta go outside the door.
I love that.
So then we ran all the way to the McDonald's, all the way to the Mickey D's. And then we had a manager at the time named Babs. And then she came out and she was furious with us and was like, you get back in there. I don't care what happens. You gotta finish the show. I don't care what happens. And so we just had our heads down. It was the most embarrassing thing. Like going back in there and trying to restart the song. And at that time, too, like the music we were making, it was we weren't even doing this stuff, It was, I mean, it was a total different side of who I am today. We'll just say that. But it was, but it's definitely something you got to get the reps in. And I share that story because a lot of people struggle with going on the stage and just trying to command the stage and also being in the like comfortable in their own skin on the stage. And I think it's something you have to do, and you have to get the reps, and you have to have those moments. Don't dart off stage. Don't do that. Don't run into a Mickey D's. But you got to be able to kind of take the L's. Like not every stage setup is going to be perfect, and you just got to go and deliver your best thing. So I think that's just really important, really, really important. And as far as speaking goes, your podcast. So little do people know that Rhonda has a top 1% podcast, and she's been grinding and working this podcast. So how did you build it up to what it is today? With how many episodes have you done?
190.
Just 190? That's it?
190.
190 conversations happening. How did you build it up? And also what made you start the podcast, but also continue it? Because most podcasts fail after a couple episodes and people are like, this is too much work.
Yeah.
Or screw this. No one wants to hear from me, or I'm not getting any downloads, and they give up.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the podcast actually, my bachelor's degree is in communication. So I always thought I would go into like TV-ish, like, always wanted to kind of do that. And
like a host or just producer?
Yeah, like anchor, whatever.
Okay.
Like that was kind of like
Rhonda, the weather
yeah. I'm like,
anchor.
oh, why do you want to be? Why really do you want to be a meteorologist? Because I want to be on TV. Like,
Can we have real quick? Can we have your best like weather impression, just really quick?
It's raining. It's raining. So the podcast was something that I really felt like would allow me to be able to address things related to the divorce process in a way that could just be authentic, right? And I really was like, I'm only doing this if I can, just be honest. And I want people to be able to see my personality. I want them to be able to hear my heart for, what they're going through. And I want it to be fun, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be all serious all the time. And so I had some really great friends who were like, listen, you just need to do it. So I ended up finding somebody to help with the production piece of it. And I remember like sitting in my office recording record, like, oh my gosh, just record the 4 episodes to get a baseline. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, as you and I have been talking, you're like, do you realize like how many, I have no point of reference. I just do my thing.
Right.
And so what happened was people were starting to listen from Texas and California and New York, and they were reaching out like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, yes, I can. And so long story short, we ended up, just continuing. And I think the thing about the podcast, which will be interesting with the rebrand, and I'm sure you and I will have a conversation about this, is I've been interviewing. I love doing the interview.
Yeah.
I love being able to infuse my, and just have these really dynamic conversations. But I think that with where we're headed, there's going to be a need for some solo episodes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
People want to hear from you.
They do. Yeah.
As well. I mean, guests are awesome.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Like I'm chiming in, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, okay, yes. And let me just, so it's a really good conversation. But yeah, I mean, we just committed. I don't know. I mean, thankfully too, I've got a team that does, all the behind the scenes stuff. So we record it and here you go and make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been fun. I mean,
was there a point in the podcast that you wanted to quit?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, maybe before I started. I mean, I remember
You want to quit before you got started?
Because I remember we queued up the 4 sessions, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm on the roller coaster and this thing, I can't get off the ride. Like it's already queued up. Like people are either going to like it or they're going to hate it. But I'm not going to just be telling people just what they want to hear. I want to tell them what I'm seeing behind the scenes. I want to tell them some examples of stuff that's not good.
Yeah.
And I want to challenge the paradigm because it's not working. And I think people have really appreciated that refreshing approach. And it certainly has helped my business. I mean, people listen. My discovery calls, I say, hey, it's Rhonda. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And I'm like, hey, what's up? So it's made the business building so much easier. And I always said, I don't want to be like, hey, there's this, podcast persona, and then there's the Rhonda over here. I'm like, no, I'm it. Like I'm I don't know, the same on the podcast as I am in other areas of my life, and I wanted it to be that way.
Yeah. A lot of people struggle with that. Just the confidence and like just showing up once again, just being in their own skin, and they kind of put this facade on. I always say people put a mask on and they try to emulate something else that they know that they're not on the podcast. It's very interesting that you never wanted to quit, because most people, even if you have some levels of success, like 190 episodes, you would think that like episode 30, you're like, I mean, it's cool, get a couple calls, but like, is it really worth it? Because it's very time consuming, to actually, produce the episodes, push them out, promote them, and let people know that you have a podcast as well. But for you to stick through it, and I think that's the number one thing that I tell people is like consistency. Is it just beats out every other thing that could possibly happen to you.
Yeah.
Like if you just never stop.
That's right. I think that's key.
You can never lose, actually.
I think that's key. And that's like, I don't know. I mean, I think that consistency is certainly So it is. It's just so important, and you just commit to it. You just
Yeah.
commit and you do it. And so yeah, I mean that's been one area that really I don't think I've ever really wanted to quit. Probably because I kind of felt like, hey, I'm finally like getting to do the like interview.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
finally like getting to be
The
the host.
communications, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it's served me well, and really, I mean, we rebranded the podcast title about a year ago, and it's now called Disrupting Divorce, which probably, yeah, it was a good move. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that has shaken things up.
Hmm.
But I also right think it's attracting the right people. Like
Yeah,
the people that listen, and you had asked me this question recently, are like, okay, well, who's not your, who are not your people, right? Or
yeah,
who's not a good fit? And I said it's the people that they think everything's going to be fine, and they don't want an advocate. And so
yeah.
then those aren't my people. And the same thing with a podcast. I mean, it's like but it's a great free resource for people, and it is definitely helping build the brand for sure.
And that's good too that you mentioned that, because I think for a lot of the audience listening live in person, but also when once this get posted, uh, your thing doesn't have to be for everybody. It definitely does not have to be for everybody. And making sure that you figure out who it's for and who it's not for is actually really important, because a lot of times people start a podcast, or they want to be a keynote speaker, and then they put their presentation together and like, oh, this is for everybody. And, or I start a business and anybody can buy. And it's like, can they really? Anybody? You want anybody? I don't want anybody. Some people I don't want to work with, are just not a good fit. And so just lasering in on like who you actually serve it's really important. I think when you start anything,
Yeah.
from a podcast to your speaking, your book, we'll talk about that in a second. And then also your business. Like, I think it's just so important to make sure you're lasered in on that. And then the more that you can actually repel the people that you don't want to talk to, the easier it is for the people that are the people you want to talk to. Be like, yeah, like that's me.
Well, and kind of along those lines, I think, when you first start your business, right, you're like, okay, I need to figure out where I'm starting, right? And so you need people in the door so you can, and then you kind of maybe hone in and you niche down. And we all know what they say about that, like, oh, the riches are in the niches. Okay. But then, you're niche down. But now as your business goes on, I'm finding that I'm niching even further. And I found some, I don't know, my emotional response to that as of recent was like, oh, okay, is that going to work? Am I getting too narrow? Am I get, and so like those challenges, those fears, those, okay, is this really the right direction? I mean, that never goes away.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, oh, you've reached this milestone in your business and now all of a sudden you never have these challenges or whatever. It's been interesting, but I'm super glad we're doing it because we're really dialing in on even further our ideal clients.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's talk a little bit about your book.
Yeah.
Why did you want to release a book? And tell us a little bit about also, well, actually, first, let me reverse the questions. I just thought about in real time. Let me reverse the questions. First, tell us about your book, what it's about, and what can people really walk away after reading it? And also what made you actually say, hey, now's the time that I want to release this book?
Okay. So the book it's really intended to be a interactive, journal. It's simple, right? I love acronyms. So I took the word confidence and I dialed each of those letters in with an aspect of helping women develop their confidence.
Mhm.
And I originally started, this book was like 10 chapters long and it was just way too heavy and just ridiculousness. Like that's too much, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So knowing my ideal client and saying, hey, listen, that my ideal client is busy. She's overwhelmed. She's going through divorce. She needs something that in bite-sized pieces she can read something and then answer a question and think and ponder. And so, yeah, so basically, it's a small book that women can throw in their purse, and
Mhm.
they're waiting in the car line with the kids, and they're thinking through stuff, and the impact and the feedback that we've had on the book's been, I mean, it's making an impact.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we overcomplicate. I mean, it's simple. It's a simple book, and yet it's powerful. And I think we're asking the right questions. And the first part of the book is probably the first time I've shared some stories around the financial aspect and some of the things that I think have allowed my clients to realize that I understand a lot of the financial fears or struggles that they're having. And that's just a snapshot. Like Bold Beginnings is the book, and I think there will be bold endings and I think there's going to be a series of these because the format's easy in a sense of it's easily digestible for people that are in really stressful situations.
Yeah. And why was the time, for like in your business, why did you decide to write a book now though and release this? Like as far as business wise?
There's never a good time. That's the problem. Like this.
Ain't that the truth? I just saw somebody post something about that. They had a picture of them writing the book. And then they said, like, when is a good time to write a book? And it's like never or something.
It's never. Like this has been like literally I've been working on something related to this end goal for probably 3 years. And so it just was like you just have to commit to doing it. And then, in looking at where we were headed with really wanting to have, the podcast and the book and all the things, it's like, let's just do it. So I don't know that it was as well kind of thought out on the timeline, although now that we kind of got it moving, we were going to release it in April of this year. And then with the rebrand and some of the things as that kind of took shape, I'm like, and my 10-year anniversary for starting my business this month, we decided we bumped it back. So it was kind of a part of this like, hey, it's 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're celebrating that with, this next milestone.
And next week it's going to be on a billboard in Times Square.
I'm so excited. Like, I can't even tell you. I'm so excited. It's interesting because I had already been kind of considering, heading to New York because we've got some really great attorneys and mediators and private investigators we work with, and they're in New York City and have a good amount of clients there too. And so a couple of them had said, hey, do you ever come to New York? I'm like, oh, yeah. No, I haven't. No. But I said I want to. And they're like, well, let's kind of coordinate that.
Yeah.
So then when you and I were talking and you're like, hey, we're doing this retreat in New York, I'm like, seriously? Okay, let's have this
divine timing.
That was divine timing. So so I've got some really good meetings set up, and I'm at our hotel. I'm just gonna I invited a couple people to just stop by, like a little happy hour or whatever, and get to meet them. But I'm excited about being able to meet some of these folks in person, and but also the media piece. I mean, that's really I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully people don't get too rowdy. That's what I'm hoping for. Like, there's been some scenarios. I mean, most times it's good, but you never know. Sometimes people don't know how to act. It's like they get out of their comfort zone and their normal environment, and they get into like this space. Now, like I'm in this like world like all the time. So, but for some people, they're like, "Oh man, like this is it. Like I'm letting loose. I'm letting loose." I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. No, I think you doing all these amazing things from your business, your book, podcast, speaking, and really just doubling down on your brand is absolutely amazing. Why, like, for the audience or for everybody listening, why is personal branding so important to you now?
I feel like it is an authentic extension of me, right? Like I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it's given clarity. I feel like it's given momentum and energy. It's giving us I don't want to say roadmap, but I mean it's really serving as a foundation for all the other things. And I mean, I have always known that personal brand is important, but I don't. Again, I think you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, now I really see the value in it and I'm ready to step into, that next phase.
Yeah. And what has it done so far for your business? Just like doubling down on your personal brand, who you are, like what shifts have you noticed?
Oh, it's been fun. So, like even within some of my programs or my meetings with my clients or whatever, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to say a bold statement. And the bold statement is you should not be going into any mediations without me.
Yeah.
And in the past, I would say, hey, I think this is really important. And yeah, and if you want me in there, let me know. And now I'm like, I don't want you going in there without me because I know the value that I bring to those situations, not only in the midst of it, but also the results.
Yeah.
And I know that's one of the things that you and I are working on of just like, dialing that in. But yeah, it's definitely made, and I would say, I don't know if confidence is the right word because I don't feel like I wasn't confident before, but I feel like I feel more willing to be bold in my thought process. Like I might
Yeah.
think something and not say it, and now I'm thinking it and I'm saying it.
Yeah.
So that's probably maybe the bridge.
And I'll just expand on that slightly. Is when people learn how to take their authentic self and then also weave that into their marketing, the copy, their voice, their brand voice, and just really gain that confidence in themselves of like, no, this is who I am. And then that goes into the content, it becomes more relatable and it becomes more humanized. And people see that and they react to that. But oftentimes, like a lot of companies and businesses play it too safe as far as in their marketing. They're like tiptoeing, and then we've all seen it. Like then you start seeing like these sterile brands, and they're like, there's no life to it. There's no flavor. There's no like I don't even know which side like to that you're even leaning on because you're so in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you just become mush. Like, and it's just like, I mean, you're just not relatable. And then people can't even tap into your brand. And then you're trying to like do all these brand things and no one cares. No one cares. Like, no one cares. So the more that you can tap into, and this also goes too, if people are building, there's a personal brand, but also for if they just want their brand itself, maybe they don't want to be the face, but their brand needs some kind of life. Well, then, for instance, like Nike, there's not like the CEO of Nike that's everywhere. And, I don't even know who the CEO of Nike is. I don't even know who that is. But what they do is they still have life in the brand and they utilize other people to show the lifestyle of it. So you have athletes and fashion and, all these other things. There's still people, so people can still relate to it. So they're now selling lifestyle. Or, hey, don't you want to be like Mike? Or don't you want to be like this? And then it's still, you have to humanize your stuff to some degree. You have to, if you want to really have people care about your brand and what you're doing. So I just wanted to expand on that because it's often a piece that a lot of businesses miss. And even like large companies I've worked with, they just don't get it. And I was like, but then they're like trying to do these community activations and all sort of stuff. Like no one cares. No one cares because you haven't done the due diligence in your own brand to even like have people care about it. So it's something I'm extra passionate about. If you can't tell. Okay. So we got to have a Q&A real quick.
Okay.
See, I'm on time. This is not usually the case. My mom yells at me all the time for being late. So I'm on time. So we got to have a Q&A for 15 minutes. We're going to open up to the audience here to ask questions to Rhonda, but also you can ask questions to me. And I got some freebies. So raise your hand or shout it out, do something. And ask some questions, anything on your business. But if you ask your questions, please state your name and then why you're here. Any questions in the audience? As people ponder, they're pondering, people. See, people got to think. They think real deep. Michael, what's up, man?
Outside of your space, Rhonda, how do you describe what you do to those of us that don't understand how the law works? There's a role that you're playing. Help me understand it, but not in in terms of what it actually is in your sphere? Like, put in something that I might be able to actually get.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times people think that the legal aspect is the main thing, right?
Mm.
And so they're contemplating or they're going through divorce. And I know that it's something that a lot of people don't necessarily want to talk about. But from my experience, I guess it kind of goes back to why I even started my business, which was I had women that were reaching out. Hey, I'm contemplating, I'm going through divorce. I don't know what to be asking. I don't feel like anybody's advocating for me. And I'm feeling bullied into making these decisions. And so I, the whole premise of my business started by me asking women that were in that spot, like, hey, what's working? What isn't? What do you need? They're like, man, I need somebody to walk me through this. Like, I don't even know the process. And so while I'm focused on the financial stuff, I'm really walking women in particular through the process. Hey, here's what we need to do first, and then this, and then this, and then this, and here's why it matters. So, like, for example, this morning I was on a call with a client in Kansas, and I am also very strategic in, I don't want to just do work to do work for them. Like, what are we doing? What's the end game? What's the goal? And so the attorney was on the call, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. I've never met him before. He's like, who is this chick? Like, he wasn't even looking at me. He was like taking notes, like, I'm like, okay, this is going to be fun. And I said, okay, so help me understand, like, how you approach the situation and, what's your attitude or approach about these couple things. And it kind of gave me some insight on how he was going to operate. And then I said, well, can I make a suggestion? I said, typically, because he's like, we need a forensic accountant. I'm like, okay, can I share with you something? I said, and here's why I want to share with you, because it works. And he goes, sure. I said, I think we need to hire the private investigator first, and here's why. And then I map it, and he's like, ooh, I like that. He's like, that's really good. And so I got his buy-in. And I think, it's just rounding that out. Like, you've got the legal perspective. I can bring the financial perspective. And then we always hope that they're working with, a therapist or whatever on the emotional perspective. So we've got this real holistic approach. But I think the other piece of it is a lot of what I've seen trend wise is people moving from, hey, we don't want to advocate because we don't want to rock the boat and we don't want to be too bold. So we're going to go over here and just like play nicey and everybody gets along. And, that's all sounds good, but it isn't working most of the time. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I would say about that is just walking them through the process, giving them the questions to be asking, connecting them with the right people that are really going to, at the end of the day, move the needle. And I always say, too, I've told you this, I'm like, let's just be clear. I work with women. I advocate for women. I don't hate men. Like, I'm not going in there like, let's just take them out, people. Like, let's go, girls. No.
Well, that's good.
Right? I mean, that's not it. But there, unfortunately, a lot of the women that I'm working with, they don't have a voice. Nobody's actually advocating for them.
Yeah.
And they think that the attorney's going to, and it's just a miss. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, come down and get your goodies.
Oh, what do I do?
You get a book and a candle.
Genuinely curious, but okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
my man.
All right. I'm excited. Feels like success.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Awesome. Any other actually real quick, Michael, can you just state your name? Well, everybody knows you're Michael now. But and just what you do.
Sure. Michael Rampola with Spirity. I'm a strategist and a coach. We help other people do better what they love to do.
Awesome, man. So straightforward.
I can't see anybody's face.
So precise.
Y'all are like lounging.
Everybody, they're in lounge chairs. Any other questions? Anything pondering in your mind? Yes.
So I guess I'm Ryan. I work at Podcast Out. My question to you is mediation something that is only pre-divorce? Or for people who have legal obligations afterwards, is there some kind of outlet of like mediation for them to be able to negotiate, terms with children, drop-off times, all the random things that come up if they are not able to communicate super well?
Yeah. Yeah, the communication piece is a big deal, right? So And a lot of the terms around mediation, basically, I mean, it's like, think of it like, hey, we're having a conversation, right? So people can either be doing mediation before they officially decide what direction they're going to go. They can do it while they're going through the process as a method to be able to come to a resolution. Or there are times, like you were asking, if you can do the mediation at the end. And a lot of times it's okay, finding a third party that can get either two people either virtually in or in person in a room and say, okay, let's hash this out. Here's what the law says about this. So when I'm doing the mediations, of course, I'm not an attorney, I'm doing the financial stuff, but like I'm in the room. If we're talking about financial stuff, I'm in there with the client and their attorney and then often the mediator. So there's a lot of different variations on how that could work. But in Wisconsin in particular, yeah, I mean, you could hire somebody to help kind of post-divorce issues or whatever, on getting everybody on the same page. Once the financial stuff is done, though, that ship has kind of sailed, except for like child support related conversations. So whatever you decide, right, for the financials, that's why I feel like we got one chance to get it right. Because when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, don't call me when you've signed on the dotted line. Like, hey, can you help me? No, I can't. Like, and don't even let me look at it because I'm going to be irritated. So,
Right.
but the kid related stuff, for any time that there's still minor kids, yeah, I mean, reaching out to an attorney who can help with mediation post divorce is certainly an option for people. But I try to stay in my lane with the financial stuff. But there is a little bit of overlap for sure.
Cool. Great question. All right, Ryan. Come get your book.
And your candle.
And your candle. You can light it at night, whatever you want to do. Yeah, no problem. No problem. All right. Make sure. We got time for maybe one or two more ish.
Ish.
One more. Real quick. Anybody? Going once. Going twice. Any questions? Last minute questions? People are really thinking. Or maybe you just given so much insight where all their questions are already
I'm
answered.
sure you have additional questions. You can give yourself a candle.
I can give myself a candle. I'm like, at least do it for the candle. At least. Does it smell good? Come on, man. Come on. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This is absolutely amazing. Every time I talk to you, I learn a little bit more, a little bit more about you. And I know for a fact that you've definitely helped somebody, as far as us listening, watching, of how to grow their business, how to understand a little bit more, maybe about brand, media and marketing. I think your whole story of like just reinventing yourself and the rebrand is really interesting because a lot of business owners are going through these things. And it's really good to get insight about somebody who's actually actively doing it and see why they were doing it as well. So if you want to shout out real quick, just where people can find you, how can they get connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram at Rhonda Noordyk, or my website, www.divorce.com.
Cool. And then what's your main social platform that you're on?
I mean, where my clients are is usually Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you want to get in contact with Rhonda, Facebook and Instagram is the place to go. Hit her up. And for everybody watching and listening, please like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. We're everywhere you can get podcasts. And don't forget to share this with somebody. Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy. Share this. Share this with somebody that needs to hear it. And as it's going to inspire, educate, and really be a great resource for somebody. And also, don't forget, you can change your circle. You can definitely change your life. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode. I'm Jamar Jones. Peace.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell for more amazing content that we're going to be putting out. And don't forget, you can change your circle to change your life. you.